Nancy, tell us about transforming people from being, I love your language, the victims of work to agents of their work.
Well, I think that people have to want that transformation for themselves. So they have to want to embrace the idea that they have power. And I think, going once again back to the way that work was designed, really meant that only a small amount of people actually had power and everybody else was subservient to them. I think as a country, we're falling behind.
Yeah.
Because we have disempowered more people than we've empowered. And we've also, there are all these barriers to achievement, like education, like, financial contribution, like, access to resources and access to leadership and access to opportunity. And I think all of those things have just supported that sort of old way of thinking and working.
As I listen to you even describe that, for me, probably in my work, in my framework, I think about reenactments, right? In that you can be the victim, which you're already alluding to. You can be the rescuer, which is let me fix everything, which is what I see a lot of leaders trying to do. And the idea is, how do we move from that to the empowerment? So how do you move from victim to driver, which is what you're saying, the victim of work to an agent of work? But how do you also move from rescuer to supporter? Does it have to be my way or can it be our way? And how do you move from persecutor to coach? How do we just get more curious about each other instead of saying, well, Nancy, that's a stupid idea. And instead of saying, well, Nancy, tell me more about your idea.
And how can we test it to see? How can we give that idea legs and put it in a real setting and test it to see if you're right? And I actually think it takes courage to bring the idea forward, and it takes courage to accept the idea. I think, most of us feel like victims of work because that is how we are trained to operate in work. Work just happens to us. We don't have any control. And I think especially at work, that's something that needs to change, because we can't keep having these future of work conversations if we don't empower the folks in the workforce. Because a single driver is not going to get us to our destination anymore.